Hello everyone, K-Kim here with the Traders Club. Thanks for tuning in for today's market update. Today we're going to be looking at S&P, Spider, IWM, XLE, Apple, Baidu, AMD, BABA, Treasury bond, GLD, and oil. And we'll call it a night. Hope you guys had a good week trading thus far. Again, welcome to the market update. Today is December 15, 2017, Friday. Market, as I record this video, market should be open another hour and a half, so you should be seeing a little bit of flashing lights on your left. Let's go through it here. Spider. What we have on Spider, obviously, Spider continues to move higher. 10 EMA acting as strong support, as you can see here. Spider, this thing came down, retested 20, got up, and then we started to respect the 10, right? We have not yet closed below 10 since November 16th. That's about a month here. So 10 EMA continues to act as strong support, and we have to continue to give benefit of doubt to the buyer. Just something I've been saying last, couple of weeks here, that, we are dealing with extended conditions in the market, obviously. But at the same time, we have to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers until we see certain evidence that, we are seeing minor term bearishness. Right now, we are seeing minor term bullishness as we continue to find support in that 10 EMA there, right? So minor term sentiment is bullish, intermediate term sentiment is bullish, primary term sentiment is bullish. However, we are dealing with intermediate term extended condition in the overall market. Does that make sense? So we're going to continue to give benefit of doubt, but at the same time, we understand that we are extended, right? We're actually very, very extended. But nobody knows where the top is. It could continue to grind higher like that. Depending on your time frame, something I've been talking about is, for me, am I gonna go starting a new fresh position with calls and Spider today? No. This is a level that I'm gonna start to unload some of my call positions that have accumulated back in March, April, and May. But this is not a level I'm gonna start accumulating positions here. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I've been treating the market. I have been unloading some of my calls with different equities that I was holding this week. And if the market continues to grind higher to the upside next week, I'm going to continue to unload some of those positions that I'm currently holding. I also hold a lot of long-term investment stocks, and I haven't closed any of them because I am bullish in the long term, but I'm just in the intermediate term, maybe even minor to intermediate term. I am bullish, but I am being cautious. Hope that makes sense. As I promised, I will talk about Spider weekly oscillator here. I tweeted out. So here's on my Twitter page. No, that's not it. We'll talk about that too. 60 minutes are bearish divergence, but right here. So, so what does this mean, right? So you can see Spider continues to move higher, and we are just looking at the chart since.
Attention, an alert target has been reached.
Since 2010, like looking at last 20 years or so of sentiment, right? Since the when market bottomed back in 2009, the RSI, this is a weekly chart, guys. This RSI has not yet been in this territory. We're dealing with record high RSI on this weekly chart. Not only we're dealing with a record high in just the last 20 years, we're actually dealing with this in the last let me go to it real quick. If I actually do this, if I go back all the way to 1993, right? Just looking at maybe in the last 30 years, we're at record high, all-time high RSI level on this weekly chart. So what does that mean? What does this mean? Like what is it? How can we look at this data and what can we make out of it? Like how should we look, how should we interpret this, right? So when we're seeing extended RSIs, it doesn't mean because it's super extended that doesn't mean that, oh wow, RSI that high, okay, I think the whole thing is ready to completely dismantle. That is not true, right? Because if we go right there, let me show you right there, 1995, we hit the record high. Again, I'm talking about long term here. Okay, those are some of the highest levels that I can find, right? Did that look like, look at a long term. Did that look like after we hit that extreme overbought level, the whole thing crashed? It didn't, right? We did see maybe a brief pullback, and when I mean brief could be a month or so. Something I've been saying, I think the 5% correction is coming. I don't know when. It could be end of this month. It could be in January, February, because it could keep grinding higher like this. So as you can see here, even 1995, again, this is a weekly chart. So here in 2004, we did see a pullback before going up. 2013, we continued, and here we are at record high. So that record high, what it means is we have not yet seen this kind of a buying pressure in the overall market last 30 years. That's what he's saying. We have not yet seen this kind of buying pressure, meaning this market is very, very, very bullish. That's what it means. It's more bullish than back in 1995. That's how much buying pressure we're seeing as we see this weekly RSI indicator is hitting at a record all-time high. That's what he's saying. What he's not saying is the whole thing is going to crash. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that it is bullish in the long term. But what he's also saying is that maybe in the minor to intermediate term could be correction coming. But it doesn't tell us when, right? Market could very well continue grind higher, but it possibly be, you know, the odds are possibly, I'm just trying to get rid of these here, stacking up against the buyer. This is a 65-minute chart, guys. This is bearish divergence. Obviously, we saw something like that. I also tweeted this out earlier. You can see right there. It's a really grindy bearish divergence. Oh, hold on a second. Let me redo this here. Right there, here, and a little bit there, a little bit. And then we did have some bearish divergence right there, which we kind of consolidated sideways instead of seeing a price pullback like this, like that. So this was kind of a, you know, short-term correction through price, short-term correction through price after that bearish divergence. This time right here and back in October, it was correction through time because we moved sideways. You see that, right? And here, what are we going to do? I don't know. Nobody does. Are we going to see a correction through price? Are you going to see a correction through time before going higher? See, that nobody knows. We don't know. And we will have to see how the market unveils, right? So we want to continue to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers. If you have a long-term holding stocks, they're still good. But anything shorter term, this is a level I think still start to be maybe defensive and start to maybe close some of those positions. And this is not a level I'm going to start getting into new, fresh option positions, new fresh call position. This is not a level I'm gonna be start shorting the market either. I mean, yeah, if you have some you're holding long-term investment stocks and you feel like the market is extended and you feel like the 5% correction is coming, you wanna hedge it and you wanna maybe do that as a hedging strategy, maybe, you know, or if a hedging, you know, maybe going against the market, you know, maybe buying puts or buying VIX, whatever strategy that you want to input, maybe then, but you know, downright like you want to short it, I don't think this is, again, for my 9 time frame, this isn't time to like completely, oh, let's get rid of all my long positions and I'm going to start like accumulating short positions. No, this is not a level. I don't think nobody should do that. Nobody should have done that whole year long, and I don't think anybody should do that going forward. It's better to wait because we don't know, because you know those weekly oscillators that I showed you, right? That weekly oscillator, how they're super extended, right? They can reset and rest a little bit before getting back up, and the price might not see correction through time through price. Price could possibly do this, like this, for several months, right? And while we see that price doing that for several months, we could see that weekly oscillator resetting and then getting ready to get back up. You see what I mean? So this is a reason why, just because it's extremely, actually, historically speaking, if you actually go back and study your charts, when the price is extremely extended, it is more bullish for the long term. It is. Long term. It might not be in the intermediate term, but usually it is for long term. You see what I mean? So that's what that weekly RSI mean. And as of today, obviously market is not giving anything to the bears as we continue to see that 10 EMA acting as support there. So let's continue. I'll say this way, micro term, obviously everybody has a different, you know, meaning or time frame for micro, minor, but for me, in the micro term, as long as we stay above 10 EMA, I want to give benefit of doubt to the buyers in the micro term. As long as we stay 20 and 50, I want to give benefit of doubt to the buyers in the minor term, and possibly to intermediate term. As long as we stay, I'll say these are minor, this is a micro, and then 100 is intermediate. 200 is a primary. So you can see these moving averages. Those are the moving averages you want to watch. Here, so my 10 is closed. So those are the settings there if you are following my EMAs. So this is close, this is low, this is close, and 100 SMA is at high. So we got the 10 EMA, 20 EMA, 50 EMA, and 100 SMA, right? Let's go to IWM. IWM of seeing a good move here, prior resistance, new support. We saw a little bit of a volatility yesterday, but seems like this level is holding. Also, I threw a Fibonacci there, measuring this and that, and then we found support at 50 EMA. 50% retracement that is coinciding with 20 EMA, right? So that's why 20 was an important level. And it's this huge move there. I'm still holding sizable call position IWM, and my target is around 160, 162. So recently I closed like 1/4 or so right here just to manage risk, because I wasn't sure if we're gonna hold this or not, but I'm glad that it held, because since I'm still holding a lot. So if it gets up here, some of these levels, I think that's kind of where I'll be closing some more at that time. Let's go to energy sector. We haven't seen energy sector for a while. We haven't looked at energy sector for a while. So what we're doing, it seems to be doing some kind of a, so if I do a Fibonacci here, oops. So we finally broke out of this downside move, this bearish, we've been in a bearish downtrend for pretty much all year long. Finally broke out, some are, you know, in August or so, September. And then we are cultivating higher highs, which is a good sign. And we are kind of a consolidating here, which is a good sign also. You want to see consolidation after breaking out like that, right? You want to digest its gain. So you found support at that 50% retracement here, that is coinciding with that 100 SMA. See that 100 SMA coming down and kind of acting as support there. So as long as that 100 starts to move up to the upside, I think I want to continue to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers. And my 200 was gone, so there's my 200. What I'm seeing right now is, you can see this is 200. This is a what? This is what you call golden cross, and this is a dead cross. And we're starting to see a little bit of golden cross happening there, that 200 and 100 SMA kind of crossing back up. That pink thick moving average is a 200 SMA there. So we're seeing some of that. So we got some good construction going XLE. I am bullish on XLE long term. So let's see if we can break out of this, or are we going to maybe consolidate a little bit lower or more, and we'll see how that plays out. Let's go to Apple here real quick. Apple, we're holding up quite well here. I tweeted out about the weekly bearish divergence, still cautionary signal looming, but it is grinding, it is holding up. I want to continue to give benefit of doubt, but also understand that there's a weekly bearish divergence. It's not like strong, but it's kind of there. So this is definitely not a level for me to start going long. Also, like a monthly is kind of little bit hectic situation, especially looking at that this oscillator. So you can see a little bit extended here. So let's see how that plays out. Let's go to AMD. AMD, so I wrote an article, I don't know, several months ago, and so this is where we're kind of finding support at this point. This right now looks like a maybe gigantic triple top or some ugly head and shoulder. Doesn't matter. It looks like some sort of potentially a topping pattern, right? But we haven't confirmed yet. What we're seeing right now is we're kind of retesting that neckline. That's an important support, right? So the question is this a topping pattern? We already do have a lower high before this thing getting plunged to maybe 7 or 8, or are we going to start to consolidate before going higher? See that? Tough to say as of today. I think there's a chance for that, for this thing actually consolidating here before going higher, as we are retesting this level. This is an important level, right? This is a prior resistance. This thing broke out and retesting it. But if we do break lower, I think like maybe 7 and 80s is a good level to possibly, look for a strong support at that time. But right now, I think these are two levels I'm watching here as a support right here, the prior resistance. But we also got this level. So if this thing gets up, gets rejected, and creates another lower high, and then we break below this horizontal support, then I think the next support will be that 50% retracement, 8.71 and 7. So some of these levels I think provide a strong support. I do think long term though, AMD does look good in the long term, but right now we're just kind of dealing with a hectic situation here. Baidu, I want to talk about Baidu a little bit here. Just interesting construction happening here. As you can see, we got that gap hasn't been filled. We got a little bit of head, left shoulder head, right shoulder, that neckline right there. So just interesting, I thought. And then we got the gap area here. So I think this is kind of gave us like very clear levels to watch, right? So we got that head and shoulder formation. We got this neckline. If that neckline breaks and gets rejected, next level support, obviously, it's the gap fill or the gap area coinciding with the 200 SMA. And at the same time, this is a prior resistance, right? You got the prior resistance. So if this thing does fall back, 200, 210 vicinity should provide a strong support. I like Baidu long term. I think just in the minor to intermediate term, a bit of hectic situation there. Baba. So Baba, it's interesting that Baba, let me put up. Where's my other oscillators here? Yeah, so those are my oscillators. So you can see we're just kind of seeing a little bit of a distribution, not a whole lot. Obviously, we're still in an uptrend. So You can see it's starting to get kind of heavy here as the oscillators start to roll over. Again, it's not an easy proposition for shorts because we're an uptrend. I mean, there are a lot of supports. We got this gap area. That gap has not yet been filled. So when I see like these some of these oscillators kind of roll over like that's not giving me a signal to short. What it's giving me is, okay, what are the potential level of strong support that I can watch? So if this thing does tank, right? If this thing actually does tank, and I'm not sure if it's going to. I mean, we got this gap area, we're kind of acting as support. We got some of these moving average we're hanging around here. So we may find support and continue higher. Or if it does come down, we got the 200 SMA there. So there's a lot of support level. There are a lot of gap areas here. There are a lot of horizontal supports in this vicinity. So definitely not a good short here. But when I see some of these signals, I kind of look at that and say, okay, so we're seeing some weakness here in Alibaba. And if this thing does come down to some of these levels, I'll look to possibly looking at some of those levels to start, fresh positions after some correction or move. Because I mean, did see a good size of move, maybe 30%. I think that would be maybe the worst case possible scenario. And if we do see about 30% correction, I'll be really preparing to see if some of those levels could be an active strong support for me to possibly start going long. So that's how I see it. When I tweet out, I say it was an interesting look here. It's not a setup for short, but it's like, okay, it's interesting. Okay, we're kind of stalling here. Okay, we're kind of starting to feel heavy here. Okay, buyers are starting to get exhausted here. If we do see Alibaba much distribution, then definitely some of these levels are going to interest me to possibly go long. Let's go to Treasury bond. I think Treasury bond it's been holding up well here. We're kind of in this consolidational phase right here, as you can see right here. We've just been consolidating. But what's good about this is that it hasn't been coming down and cultivating lower lows. We're still cultivating higher lows, right? We got these higher lows, so we're still kind of, you know what I mean? It's been lethargic, yet we still have the formation of an uptrend as we are still holding up here. I think if this thing actually gets up and break out of this, I think Treasury bond could see a move, that could possibly get up to some of these highs here. So definitely, I think the important level was right here. So that level definitely was important, which held, right? Prior resistance, congestion zone here. That's a very, very strong support. 122 level we held. We got back up here. We, started clearing some of these levels. Looks like it's going to come and retest that level. So TLT, I kind of like that long term. GLD's been pulling back, but, you can see even here came down and created another support there. So are we ready to pause create another support? Looking at more of a big picture perspective though, like you can see we've got the low, higher low, higher low. I also did a kind of a, this long-term Fibonacci here, measuring this to this, and then this is where 50% is. That's what we saw bounce just last couple days or several days here. So definitely though in the minor term, minor to intermediate term, we do have a lower highs here. If this thing needs to get back above 123, 124-ish to really start to make its run. Possibly, is this a inverted head and shoulder, right shoulder? It's tough to say as of today, but perspective is we're in a minor term downtrend, minor to intermediate term, but we're dealing with potentially intermediate to primary term uptrend because we have cultivated higher high there. A major primary term, obviously in a major primary term, we're not in an uptrend yet. We're at best, we're possibly still in this kind of accumulation phase. We're still bottoming out. We're still basing. But in the long term, this is a good phase because we're not cultivating lower highs and lower lows. We're not in a downtrend per se, but we are in this accumulation phase. We are seeing slowdown. We're seeing a basing period. We've been basing pretty much 5 years here. If we can ever break out of this, that's a very, very good sign gold to possibly thrive. And so I'm going to continue to watch gold and see how that plays out. Oil, and I'll let you guys go with this. Oil obviously tanked, but we are seeing a little bit of a positive accumulate, maybe some kind of basing period here. This is important level right there. As you can see, that was that support prior resistance tank. We're still kind of grinding here, but we're not making new lows. We are basing out here. I mean, that's a good sign. As long as we do that, as long as it doesn't continue lower, then possibly this thing get out, maybe get back up here, but still a lot of work needs to be done. But I just thought that it's interesting as of late that we are just now retesting this level. It will be actually a little bit more favor to the buyers if this can get up and retest that and then pull back and then possibly break out, right? So that's how that plays out. That's it for me. Have a wonderful weekend and good luck trading next week.